I wanted to show the game played between Anderssen and Kiseritzky back in 1851. Anderssen was one of the best players of that era, so a lot of his games are famous. But this one was one of the most fascinating games in history, and it's still and it's still considered that way after so many years. So if anybody knows about it, it's in the final position, Anderssen checkmated his opponent despite being down a queen, 2 rooks, and a bishop, which, you know, is the biggest material imbalance that we can even think of.
Absolutely.
So we can start to look at it and see some variations, and I'll also ask some questions to have you solve the tactics if you haven't seen that game yet.
Absolutely, yeah. One of the fun things is that it's the King's Gambit, and well, nowadays we have a little smirk on our face if somebody plays the King's Gambit, but back then it was just the go-to opening. The opening, it was like so popular. Everybody played it. It's funny.
Yeah, of course. Now with the engines, some of the lines are hard to are hard to justify when everybody learns theory around you. But back in, it's still a really good opening to play for a really, you know, unconventional game. And even nowadays, some people play it. I think Nepo plays it a lot.
True. Yeah, that's true.
From time to time.
And it's not like this. It's not a bad opening. You can still play it, even in Rapid and Blitz. It's like super players play it popular wise. So yeah, didn't want to make it bad.
Yeah, and also, unlike most other famous games, this one was actually a casual game. It wasn't really played as part of the tournament. It was played between the rounds at a international tournament. So to me, it's even more impressive that Anderssen pulled out such a sacrifice in even a casual game, you know, when you're not fully concentrated and just, you know, playing for fun. And his opponent was so impressed that he recorded it and finally sent it for publishing, which I think it gave all of us this really good Immortal game.
Yes. So yeah, so you take on f4. And the normal response is, I guess, knight f3, right?
Right.
Yeah.
The usual nowadays, these are some of the main lines for the King's Gambit, where white kind of most of the time just regains that pawn on g4, and that's how it goes. Some weaknesses for both sides, but a lot of tactical chances. But in the Immortal game, white played bishop to c4, which is one of the other King's Gambit lines. And then the king went to f1, b5. Why are you smiling?
I'm smiling because, like, you cannot castle anymore. That's on you now. But it's like, it's so attacking. It's just very nice. Also, it was, when I was a bit younger, it was my favorite game. So I'm just like happy about this.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay, that's fun. Well, nowadays, the move d6 would give, you know, once already the engines have looked at all of the King's Gambit, now something like this would be better for black. Just a consistent extra pawn, no castling for white, and just not really, the computer wouldn't really find the compensation here. But, you know, back in the day, it was just a great opening that gave you a lot of attacking chances, and the pawn didn't matter that much back in the day, I think. So
those were the times.
Yeah, that's true. But this b5 move is a bit strange, but it was the main line back then. And also, I've seen a lot of the other games between the same two players, and they've played a couple of games in this exact same lines, and they repeated it. So I assume this was theory back then, and it was considered, you know, as one of the maybe the modern day Rue Lopez, that they just played all the time. The pawn was accepted, and some development continued. We got the tempo back on the queen, and then retreated. And you might even know this too, Arne, but I didn't too. There was another famous game that went in this exact same way. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I'm not sure, no.
Another famous game that was played in this position was a short against Kasparov. in 1993. And it was after their World Championship match ended with Kasparov's victory. They actually had some extra time because it ended, he just won it earlier.
Yeah.
So they played some exhibition games to fill up the schedule. And
Funny.
some of these matches, the opening was drawn out of the hat, and they had to play it. And I think, I mean, most likely because of this Immortal game, that they got forced to play into this line.
How funny. That I didn't know. This is a very interesting
And
trivia.
Kasparov really didn't like the b5 move. And he lost in just 15 moves as Black.
Whoa.
Maybe it was pressuring him that, that he knew the Immortal game and that he knew how it ended, and he just didn't like Black's position. But funnily enough, I can even show the game because I have it here. So that's not the Immortal game. That's the short against Kasparov exhibition game. I think it was rapid, so it wouldn't be a classical game. But it went really smoothly for Nigel Short, where he just started an attack, got his king to safety, and then the rook joined. And Kasparov took the pawn on e4, out of maybe desperation, and he just didn't like that his pieces weren't developed yet. But he ended up losing fairly quickly to... Actually, he just resigned after knight e4, which is a bit early, but he can't really take with the bishop because then rook f5, and he's going to eventually win that bishop and just checkmate with the rook and the queen. If he takes back with the f-pawn, then there's queen h5, so there's some attacks everywhere, and I assume he just got enough of the game that he just didn't want to. Something like this. Would it be that? Rook f4. No, rook e5. Rook e5 is better.
Rook e5 looks very convincing, yeah.
Yeah, so all of the lines there are winning for white, and he just resigned a bit early. But it's not often that you see Kasparov lose in 15 moves.
That is super true, yes, yeah. He must have been, a bit upset, I guess.
Yeah. Or at least that's where my game ended. Maybe it was more, but that's where it ended in my ChessBase. So in the actual game, in the actual Immortal game, there was a bit of a different continuation. He continued with d3, knight to h5 to try to play knight g3, a sneaky attack, which white prevented with knight h4. So nowadays there can be
crazy defense.
I mean, yeah, it's already a non-typical position.
Yeah.
So any move that we make here is already gonna look unique.
True.
So it's once again a really funny way to defend both pieces, and Black tried to maintain the pawn and also make some attacks at the same time. So he attacked the bishop, which white didn't want to defend, and instead played g4 to counterattack. So, funnily enough, he didn't even move the bishop after he got after the attack got renewed again, and Black ended up taking it, which I think is great because it gave us a really nice game. But of course, it was better for Black to not really accept that sacrifice and just play a more positional way of targeting White's weaknesses and playing something like h5 and something like this. So Black could maintain some pressure here on White's weaknesses. And instead, he took the piece, and the queen is almost trapped.
But
so he pushes a pawn.
Almost, yeah.
Almost. For which side would you rather play such positions? Do you like to be up a piece but with an attack, or do you like to be down a piece with an attack, or up a piece but having to defend for the next little while?
You don't have to ask me. Of course, I'm the one who is the sacrifice Hazardoer. But so exactly in this position, I just have positions like this on the board so often. When I blitz, when I bullet, it looks like this very, very often. And in a short time frame, this is fun to play, and I like it. It's interesting. You have an attack which you can build up. The pawns are rushing forward. Yeah, clearly.
You choose
Take the
white.
pieces as long as I can attack.
Right. I would also pick the side with an attack, but I don't get into these often because I don't have the courage to give away when it actually comes to that moment, and I have to give it away for some imaginary attack. I don't have enough courage to do that sometimes.
Which I guess is probably the reason why you have a title and not me.
No, but you get to beat me in Blitz a lot, and a lot of these games end in
been a while.
really nice attacks. So anyways, white is of course the one who's pushing for an advantage and for checkmate sometime soon. So they have to make every single move that makes a threat. When you're playing such positions, you can't slow down. You have to make every single move with a threat, so that the opponent doesn't have enough time to finish the development.
Yeah.
Which is why Queen f3 was played, to attack on f4. Black retreated because they have to make the place for the queen, and the queen was just already not feeling good there. So eventually white continued development, and no matter how much black tried to play with a tempo and to attack and to gain at least some time to develop, that didn't matter for white because they didn't care about the material and just gave away pretty much everything. So white continues with knight to d5, just attacking the queen, and just every single move that white makes, we saw that all of it has a purpose and has an attack. And after queen b2, do you remember what white played next?
What was it? Was it? No, it cannot be. No, I don't remember. Funny.
Okay, I'm glad now that at least you calculated.
I actually really don't remember. Is it a check on g7? No, it cannot be. It's stupid. I thought about this for a second already. No, I don't know.
The move that he played, if anybody got it right, is bishop to d6. I mean, it would be really hard to find, but both rooks are under attack. And this was actually a controversial move because engines didn't seem to agree whether it was good or not.
Uh-huh.
So at first they say it's a mistake, and then later they admit that it's still winning for white.
Okay.
So I always find such situations funny, and I enjoy that there's still something that can be so complex that even it puzzles the computers. I really enjoy such positions. Yeah. Or I enjoy the puzzles that don't have a computer solution. I think yes. Frederick Friedel posts, or he is also interested in them, and he posts them sometimes.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, this is very enjoyable. I agree.
So at first the computer doesn't understand it, but after it sits for a long time, then it's like, okay, white is still winning. But something even simpler that would have been preferable is maybe to just protect one of the rooks and keep all the same ideas just for one move later, and white can still have a really good attack with this d6 square, and something like bishop e5 to just either win the queen or have a checkmate. That would also just be one of these winning lines.
I cannot see how you win the queen with this move, sorry. Because it wasn't protected. It looks as if, but can't you not just take the... Oh, okay, thank you.
Both of them at the same time.
Holy moly, what is wrong with me?
You just forgot the queen was there. But a lot of moves were good, so if you named something like, I don't know, knight d6 or d4, even knight c7 perhaps, a lot of them are good. So there's just pretty much all of them involve some sort of sacrifice other than rook e1. Mm-hmm. So here, the reason why the computers were stunned is because of this queen a1 line. So in the game, Kiseritzky played bishop to g1, and we're going to see what happens there. But queen to a1 was the other alternative, where white still tries to keep up the attack, but black gets two rooks instead. Mm-hmm. So king to e2 there, only option. And queen to b2. This is the complicated line that indirectly protects his bishop. So if we anytime decide to take it, then we're going to lose it and just kind of lose the attack a little bit. So instead, the winning line goes king to d2 to protect it. So, it's a really funny way to continue the attack, but it's the best one. So there's no checks, no further threats. And on bishop a6, the only winning move, which is why the computers are confused because they don't see it immediately. I'm not going to make you find it because I think it's not possible. Or it's not, it doesn't make sense at first. It is bishop b4.
Goodness, yeah.
Because it targets bishop to a5 and frees up the square at the same time.
That's nice.
So it's just a really nice move. And nothing else wins. That's the only way. And that's the fascinating move of this line. And, there's a lot of ways to for black to defend. None of them really defended fully. And there's one line that involves pretty much only moves. So this bishop a5, at first I thought it was a checkmate, but then
bishop b6, exactly.
Then there's the bishop there, but it's still winning for white through only one idea that we're going to take. Not with the knight. I was also surprised. Not with the knight, but with the bishop, and then bring the queen over here, and there's no protection on b6.
Interesting.
So it's a very subtle idea, but it's the only one that would win in this queen a1 line, in this bishop b4 line. So that's why this bishop d6 was not actually a bad move. It was a very complex win, but it's now, once you let the computers think, it's actually confirms that it's still fine. So bishop g1 is what happened. And do you remember what happened next for white? I think now you would remember.
I wish I would love to remember it. At one point, does the king take back? I think no,
it doesn't take back.
I don't remember. Crazy.
Every move that we make has a purpose. So remember, you mentioned that that you wanted to play knight g7.
Yeah.
So
so you play c3.
Almost, we would play e5 to block that diagonal for the queen, and then to also open up our diagonal for this queen to potentially take on a8 somewhere. So, actually, if you play c3, then there might even be queen f2, and you unpleasantly have to trade some queens somewhere. But so e5 with the idea of knight g7 is just a killer move, and despite being down these two rooks that black took, Anderssen's opponent actually just resigned here. But oftentimes this game is still continued, and that's the way that it's written down in history, is that he really wanted it to have a really beautiful end, which I think you do remember, but it became kind of the official continuation.
Funny, I didn't know that. Okay.
So it actually ended here, but it does continue because the opponent, Kiseritzky, he actually just wanted it to have a beautiful finish, and I think that's one of, either he picked it or the public picked the most beautiful one. So it starts with knight a6, and if you want to try to find it, it's a checkmate in 3.
1, 2, 3. I think it's I think I found it, but I didn't remember it. But of course, I know kind of how the moves go. This is why I remembered it right now. Yeah, if you don't know it, this will blow your mind. So it's worth, if you really don't know it, it's worth pausing the video and check this out for a long while, because it's just it's very beautiful. So I think it starts with knight g7 check.
Exactly, knight g7. King d8 is the only reply.
And then it's time to sacrifice the queen on f6 to lure the knight away from the precious spot e7, which is enough to checkmate. Yeah, it's just so beautiful. I mean, look.
Right.
6 pawns, a bishop, and 2 knights against.
So it's queen, 2 rooks, and bishop against a pawn.
Yeah. It's,
Which
I mean,
is...
black didn't lose a single piece except 3 pawns, right?
That's true.
Yeah, I just noticed that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, because all that...
all minor pieces.
Yeah. Everything that white did was just give away the pieces. and black only spent time taking them.
I think this is how I learned chess, because of this game. And
because of this game that influenced you as an attacking player.
Maybe it did. I just think it's like, yeah, it's like a little piece of art. I think also, yeah, as you mentioned already, it was not the absolute or real end of this, but it's just like, come on, it's just fun.
I mean, at this point, it's already a piece of art.
Yeah, surely.
It's already still a legendary game with 2 rooks and a bishop down for to have this king in the mating net. No matter what black does, there's still going to be some sort of checkmate or a win there for white. But I thought it was a really nice game, and surprisingly, I didn't remember it from before. But it is the original Immortal game that happened so many years ago, but it's still fascinating until this day.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very happy that I'm not disappointed at all. It's always nice to look at this game. You just do it every couple of years or something like this, and it's just like, yeah, it's just as a good book, as I said, or something similar. And
that's how I look at Kasparov's Immortal.
They're very good, exactly. Yeah, this is also, yeah, this is probably my favorite one, I guess, and a lot of people have that one as a favorite too. I know about that. Yeah. Yeah, it has also a nostalgic reason, because I was reading about it in the chess magazine, and this, of course, the article was like 30 pages only about this and nothing else. And I read it on the train, and I was like blown away, and I missed my station, which is also very beautiful. Yeah.
Oh.
So, which was totally fine, because I was so fascinated by this. It was funny. Anyway, thank you, Svitlana, for this little jewel, and thank you for watching. We see each other soon enough. Bye-bye.